Okay, so EMDR it stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. It's a trauma therapy that uses eye movements or alternating bilateral stimulation to clear trauma. I was introduced to EMDR in 1991 while I was at a yoga and meditation retreat with Jean Klein in Southern California in Yucca Valley. And I was sitting at lunch with two friends who were psychologists, and we were talking about what was new for us. And my friend Garnita began to speak about EMDR. Now, to give you a historical perspective, the first EMDR training had just been conducted by Francine Shapiro in 1990. So this is 1991. This is in the very early days of EMDR. So Garnita was talking about this eye movement therapy that was very powerful, was very much affecting her treatment of her clients. And she said it was shifting psychological memory to objective memory. So after I left the training, I was very enthusiastic about using it, and I began using it immediately with my clinical practice. And I've always worked a lot with adults who've been physically and sexually abused in childhood. So I began getting very good results with my clients, and I went back and I took the Part 2 training at the Institute, and then I became a facilitator and began working through the EMDR Institute, and I worked with the EMDR Institute for years. What I'm very interested is in cross-cultural applications of EMDR and how we can take this into a broader society. And I believe there are basic principles that we're using here. In some ways, the protocol is very complicated, and I've found ways to adapt it and simplify it and use it with people who've had childhood abuse, for example, in a simplified way. Use it with children in a simplified way. Use it with other cultures in a simplified way. We have so many people coming back who are traumatized right now from war. How can we integrate this in and help more people? So last week when I was here, the 13 indigenous grandmothers were here doing their rituals. And I had the opportunity to speak with one of them. I can't remember her name, but she's from South Dakota. Shared very briefly what we're doing. And she said, this sounds like what we do with our warriors when they come back from war. We call a powwow. We come together in a circle, and we drum and dance. And that returning warrior is dancing and drumming also. That's my sense of what she was saying. And it moves the trauma through. So I believe what Francine Shapiro found was something that is inherent in human beings, that as we use bilateral stimulation, we do drumming, we do dancing, we're using both hemispheres of our brains, and it's serving to help kickstart that natural healing process that's within all of us. And it's very powerful. So I think some ways we could use this, for example, in Africa, with some of the people who are traumatized in Africa, is bring healing circles together and have people drum and dance their traumas through with the support of the group. Same with indigenous cultures, to find how is this going to work with a different culture? How can we integrate some of the basic principles of this in a way that's going to feel natural to the population we're working with? Even with adolescents, there are ways you could use this that would be more seamless and less choppy with a protocol. So that's some of the areas that I'm interested in.